Welcome. What's your name?
Tanish Singh Rajpurohit.
Tanish Singh Rajpurohit. What is the meaning of your name? Could you tell me?
Yes. It means precious pearls. The precious stones which we have in right. So that's why.
What do you think your parents have kept this name?
So we are twins, and my dad was looking for a parody in names. So this was one of the best parodies he found. So my name is Tanishk, and my brother's name is Kanishk.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Very good.
Right.
And how long you have been there in, Jodhpur?
So since my entire life, so I did my schooling here, and then after that I moved to Goa for my graduation, and then brought to Mumbai.
Okay. So you're coming from basically Jodhpur, right? When did you start your journey from Jodhpur?
So I started 18th night, sir.
89.
Right, sir.
I hope your journey was comfortable.
Absolutely.
So I hope the SSB guys, they have looked after you.
Absolutely, sir. Very well.
Good one.
Right.
So you're comfortable, no issue.
No issues.
Good. So tell me something about Jodhpur. I'm not, aware of Jodhpur. I heard a lot.
Right, sir. So I would say start. It's a city of culture, sir. It's one of the best places to visit in winter season. It has Umeid Bhawan Palace, which is one of the second largest residences, the royal residences. It has which is divided into three portions. One is Umeid Bhawan Palace itself, which has a museum. Then it has a hotel, and then the Maharaja's private residence. So it's one of the best tourist attraction for the Jodhpur. Then it comes Mehrangarh Fort, sir. Apart,
Yeah.
if next to Mehrangarh Fort, there is a desert park called Raujula Fort, and then there is Yashwanthara Fort as well. So these are 4 to 5 forts and places which are worth visiting in Jodhpur.
Okay, then what is the most important attraction for the people from outside in Jodhpur and around Jodhpur?
So in Jodhpur, sir, it's Umeid Bhawan Palace and Mehrangarh Fort. Sir. For Umeid Bhawan Palace, it's also known for famous personalities' weddings. Sir. It's a
Oh,
very attractive tourist destination, plus the wedding destination. Sir. So yes.
why it is so wedding destination here in Jodhpur?
So
What is so
so
great
the-
about
yeah,
it?
so the charm and hospitality which Jodhpur has to offer is impeccable, sir.
In terms of what?
Especially Umeid Bhawan Palace, the aura which palace has, sir,
Mm.
and the royalty which which palace and Mehrangarh Fort has to offer, it's really commendable, sir. So that is the reason why people come. So for 4 to 5 days, they also feel like a king and queen, and their wedding happens in the similar fashion, like what Maharaja used to experience.
So, any places around Jodhpur also famous for?
So we have like 80 to 100 kilometers. So we have Javai Bandh. It's a sanctuary for leopards. Javai Bandh is there. Then there's Ranakpur. It has a lot of Jain community temples and a lot of places to visit over there, which are very green, very lush sort of things. So,
If you sum up Jodhpur, if I ask you, give me 4 most important things, because of that Jodhpur is famous across the world.
so hospitality, food, the people, these three I would say.
Oh, wonderful. And you said wedding destination.
Yes.
Is it because of all these things?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wonderful. Now, how long you have been in your village?
So, village, sir, my village is around 150 kilometers away from there. So, whenever in case, if we have a family gathering or some functions, we visit this.
So you are in touch with your village life, right? So you have your, grandparents and Nana, Nani and everybody?
No, sir, my nanny is there, sir, apart from her, no.
So you must be visiting them?
Yes, absolutely.
How often?
So, either they come twice or thrice in a year, and whenever I have time, either in summer vacations or winter vacations, I used to go there.
Definitely you make it a point.
Absolutely, sir.
Oh, lovely, that's very nice. And tell me something about your family, about your, schooling
Mhm.
up to class 10th. your hobbies and your games you play and your area of interest.
So coming to my family, sir, we have a family of 6 members. My father is a government teacher and my mother is a homemaker. I have an elder brother who's currently training in Officers Training Academy, Chennai, Jack Brancer. I have a twin brother who's a chartered accountant and he's preparing for civil services. And I have one dog, she's 7-year-old German Shepherd. So that's about my family, sir. And coming to my educational background, sir, till 10th I've studied in Kendra Vidyalaya, number 2, Army, and I've secured 8.6 CGPA in 10th class, sir. And 12th I moved to another school, which is Happy Hour School, and I secured 91.2% over there. I had commerce along with economics. About my spare time interests, sir, I play guitar, and since I was in college, since I was in school, I was very involved in scouting and guiding, sir. So the philanthropy part over there, which had played a really important part in my life, sir. So whenever I have time, I do things which helps the stray dogs and animals, and which is better for them, sir. So yes.
Okay. You talked about scouting,
Right, sir.
right? So what do you mean by scouting and what is the importance of this?
So, sir, scouting, sir, it was started by Mr. Robert Powell, sir, in British era, and so it's basically a young scout. Initially, it was for boys itself. So young boys used to gather, and they were provided the outside camping experience, sir. So they used to be a lot of camps, and they used to be taken to a lot of places which are not the jungle terrain, and they were taught survival skills and things like that, sir.
You said you had taken part in
Yes.
scouting. How long you were there in scouting and
from-
what all, you see, special achievements in this field?
So, scouting, sir, in any school would start from 6th standard. So I joined in 6th standard, and till 10th I was there. So good 4 to 5 years I was there, and in that time, sir, I have been awarded with Rajya Puruskar, and I have also attended division rally for Rashtra Puruskar.
What is so great that you did and you got these Puruskars?
So initially for Rajya Puruskar, sir, so 2 of us were selected from all the KVs in Jodhpur, which
Okay.
was me and my twin brother. So from very beginning, sir, both of us were involved in philanthropy work. Either we would we would help the plantation drive, we would organize the plantation drives, or we will collect few of the scouts, wear a uniform, go to the station and provide the water service or any sort of services which is required to passengers. So these sort of small things which we did, and my teachers of course noticed. So these things played a really important part.
You said that you scored
91.2.
91% in class 12, right? Over in class 10th, you scored less marks.
Right.
So what is the reason of that?
So in class 10th, sir, I had like every other student, we had science and mathematics.
Okay.
So I was bit weak in mathematics. So because I did not pay that much attention to that subject, so I scored a little bit less. However, in 12th, sir, I had worked really hard on my weak points, and that's when I excelled.
So that is the reason basically. What are you doing now?
I am pursuing the defense exams, so I'm preparing for FCAT and CDS exams, and that's
You have done graduation?
I've done graduation studies.
In what specialty?
Hotel management, so I've done BSc in hospitality and hotel administration.
Give me two, you see, advantages and the contributions of hotel industry
Right, sir.
in nation building.
So in nation building, hospitality industry, one of the major contribution would be in GDP, sir. So the amount of foreign reserve which we get from the tourism industry, it's commendable. So that is the one reason I would say, and that's all. It's one of the major reasons.
Any idea where does India stands in the, hospitality and the hotel industry?
So I would say it is one of the pioneers in beginning this industry. So it would be in top three for sure.
Okay.
That's it.
Now, you play, I think, boxing
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
you are a sportsman, right? So, you have been excelling in this game or you have been playing up to the school level?
So for cricket and boxing, sir, played mostly for school level and recreation purposes. Because I was much involved in scouting and other these things. So these things absorbed a lot of time for me. So I could not play it as for the competitions.
Okay. And what is your hobby? Any particular hobby you pursue?
I play the guitar, sir. It's
Guitar.
my time, right?
Oh, lovely. And what is your interest?
So I have a keen interest in spirituality.
Okay.
So yes.
What do you mean by that?
So helping a poor person or helping anyone who is in need and which suits my soul. So that's what spirituality means to me. It ultimately any act of kindness which helps the person and it also gives me a satisfaction that I've done something good for the people. So yes.
What is the reason that you picked up scouting?
So it was
And what age?
Hmm. Right, sir.
Yeah.
So it was always the aim of uniform, sir. My school did not have NCC. So scouting was the only option and the first and foremost option for me to get a uniform. So that was the reason, sir.
What do you think the difference between NCC and scouting?
So I would say NCC it's an extension of army, sir. Most of the units and everything are controlled by the army officers. And it is like an extension. If you want an experience in army, you join NCC and you come to know how the army life works. However, scouting is at a younger level, sir, I would say.
Okay. You have done well in the education line, you have done well in the, hotel industry also. You have the experience
Right.
and done well. That's okay. Now, tell me, any, you see, challenges in the education system of our country
Right, sir.
and what you recommend?
So, one of the best initiative which was taken recently would be new education policies which have been implemented, laying focus on the, like if we are in Rajasthan, so the education would be focused mostly in the Rajasthani language so that people or the students also have a touch of the local language. That's what have been done in Odisha and most of the parts of the country.
Okay.
And it's really good, the student has the touch of his own language. And if they come to know about their heroes, the local heroes and their sagas. So, yeah.
What do you think the education system in our country is linked with the employment?
So, up to an extent, yes. But we as a country, we lack practical education, sir. Skill-based education is not that prevalent in our country. Rather, it's more of a theoretical portion. You complete the theoretical portion, you compete for the exams, and then you get trained, and then you get a job.
Okay.
However, in other parts of the world, they have practical education. They lay focus on practical education, so that once you get complete your studies and everything, you get the job immediately as per your interest.
Okay.
Right.
So what is the, point is, do you know any country in the world which has got the, education policy with a focus of job creation?
Right. It would be, in my consideration, it would be United States and China.
How?
So in United States, there are a lot of practical based courses available. So if I want to pursue right after my 12th standard or even after 10th standard, if I want to pursue, let's just say I'm good at computers and I want to do something in that. So it's not necessary for me to study, have a graduation and then do it. If I want to get a job as soon as possible, I do a course which is there affiliated by the university, and then I get a good job over there. Would be either in software-based programs or could be anything whichever you feel you are interested in. So,
You think, is this the reason of migration of large number of students
so
to the various foreign countries?
Right. So it's the level of education and it's the practical exposure which the other parts of the country, other parts of the world has to offer to us.
You see, recently because of the Ukraine war, right?
Right.
When the Ukraine war in the month of February or around that started. Now, apart from the, you see, India, even the foreign countries, you know, we found that large number of students got stuck in Ukraine with a focus of Indian students doing medical,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it was difficult because the war was going on, right? India has to do some, make the special efforts to take them out. So, what do you think the reason for these students going to Ukraine to complete their medical this thing, training?
In India, sir, the medical system or if you want a graduation or if you want to be a doctor, there's only one concentrated organization which gives you a doctorate degree, sir. And it's really expensive and it's really difficult if you're really intelligent and you have to get through a lot of competitive exams to complete that. However, in Ukraine, it would be cost won't be there that much. So if suppose if in India it costs you 10 lakhs over here, it won't cost you that much, and you can become a doctor over there easily, sir. It's not arduous over there like this.
What I feel,
Right.
cost-wise, India is, the foreign countries are costlier.
Right.
May it be China, may it be Ukraine, may it be other, erstwhile then, the USSR countries, Kazakhstan and other various countries, wherein Indian students are doing the, undergoing the medical, degree, right? However, as per you mean to say cost criteria is the result that because of that the people that the students are migrating.
Cost is of course there, and it's easier to become a doctor over there rather than India, sir. And
How?
so the degree, the level of difficulty is not that much, sir. And to get into any good college, any college over there, you just should have all the completed papers, and then you get admission. However, in India, it's not like that, sir. You have to give a all India level based exam, and then you get into universities which are top level universities, and then you have to even after graduation, when you become a doctor, for that also you have to again appear for exam. However, all these constraints are not there in those parts of the country, those parts of the world, I would say.
Don't you think that you are compromising with the quality of medicals
So,
by that?
so in India, sir, if these people come back and want to practice in India, they again have to appear for an examination, which would be conducted by All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and then they become a doctor like a practicing doctor in India.
Okay. So, tell me, what is the state of COVID-19 now across the world?
Across the world, if we compare from 2019 or 2020, we are still in control, sir. I would say recently we still see the cases, but it's not that much as compared to the previous waves.
Any development in the world, you see, towards the controlling the COVID-19, number of cases now coming up.
Right.
China is the example.
Yeah. So if you see China's example, it's all started from China. However, at that point of time, recently, if you see, they have opened up their economy. There were a lot of cases happening over there, and they were in that solitude. So the President Xi Jinping was in this favor that there should be no COVID. So he has this policy which is called no COVID. Even if he sees any COVID cases over there, there would be lockdown and everything would be shut. So yes, that was there. Of course, apart from that, so we have developed a lot of vaccines, to curb that. Doses are there, and then we also keep the sanitization policies in check. So it's been a good development.
Tell me something about the armed forces, especially with reference to the Air Force, right? Tell me any latest, acquisition of any aircrafts or missiles or something or technology in Air Force.
So we have acquired 4 Hiron drones from Israel, sir. So that is one of the major acquisition which we've done, and most of these days, sir, we are focusing on developing technologies indigenously. So even for drones, we are focusing more to develop in India and be a defense manufacturer to other parts of the country. So,
Give me example of use of drones, right?
right, sir.
In the military technology recently, and how it is going to impact the future war.
So the very basic uses would be surveillance and getting the intelligence reports from various areas. Apart from that, sir, it's it's an unarmed vehicle, so there's no person involved, and so that's there, and you can just sit anywhere and control that, and if you want to put a missile or anything and just go there and just bombard it, and that would do. There would be less loss of life, and as far as the armed forces are concerned. So that would be one of the best parts of it. And even in those rough terrains where a helicopter or any spacecraft, anything which would be difficult for these things to reach over there. However, when it comes to drones, it would be very handy to handle, sir. So yes.
Okay, give me 3 challenges,
Right, sir.
right? Before our country, and out of that, the most burning issue.
For country, sir, it would be economy, which is inflation, the rate of inflation and all are happening. Then there's environmental crisis, of course,
Okay,
and education policies, and these things are would be there.
which is the most burning issue before the country as per you?
It would be economy, sir, certainly.
Why?
Because, sir, if we see the recent reports, India's inflation rate has been risen up to 7.79%, sir. And that is one of the highest in so many years. And if we see the devaluation of Indian rupees, it's one of the highest in so many years. It's around 77 per US dollar, which is really high, sir. So these two are
What is the reason of this, downfall of our economy?
So, of course, inflation is there, sir, and because of inflation, there's a lot of unemployment prevailing in the country.
Okay. Now, tell me 3 big challenges before the world.
So, first, I would say it would be Russia-Ukraine war and the impact it has created on the world, be it economical or any sort of that thing. Otherwise, you have education, we have economy, of course, is there. So yes, economy, Russia-Ukraine war, and environment crisis.
How is it that,
climate change.
how Ukraine-Russia war has impacted the Indian economy?
So, since India has maintained friendly relations and it has maintained a neutral stand with Russia-Ukraine war, it has friendly relations with Russia, it has friendly relations with Ukraine and other parts of the country, so it hasn't impacted the export and import of the country that much, I would say. But if you see the economy, sir, stock markets have certainly fallen down, and which has resulted in huge money loss for the country and worldwide.
Now tell me, how big is the environmental issue before the world?
So with the current level of pollution, I would say it's one of the rising issue for the world, sir.
What do you think about India?
India, sir, of course, if you see Russia-Ukraine war and the pollutions and all those things, which is emitted from that portion. Of course, it being almost 5,000 kilometers away here, but of course that would come here and it would have impacts. So the level quality of air would be really bad in certain coming years. So that would do, and to curb from these, we recently had this Save Soil movement as well, sir, on World Environment Day, which was celebrated on 5th June, to save soil throughout the world. Even I would say around 70 countries signed up for this movement, and we are planning to, of course, do better in this field.
What do you think the environment? You see, it's at the level of world environment, and we have recently seen on 5th of June World Environment Day, right? Large number of places and promises they take place across the world. Now give me 3 most important reasons which are spoilers of our environment across the world, and what is the contribution of India per se in spoiling that as well as protecting it?
So we are focusing on, so EV, I would say the use of hydrogen in terms of the fuel. It's one of the contributing factors for India and for the entire world to reduce the pollution and to reduce the emissions which it has created. So, and I would say I know about it for this itself. So.
Okay. What do you know about Quad?
So Quad is a quadrilateral dialogue, sir. It has 4 countries involved. We have India, we have Australia, then we have US and then we have Japan, sir. So it was conducted in Tokyo this time. So it's basically the main agenda behind it is to curb and to keep a check on Chinese movements in terms of economy, in terms of their military operations and anything which China is doing to the world. We try to curb that, sir. So that is the main agenda, sir.
What geographical area it covers?
So it covers the Indo-Pacific, entire Indo-Pacific region, sir. If we go towards the south, it has Australia. If it goes toward the north from India, it has Japan over there. Then you have America over that side. So it covers the entire Indo-Pacific area, sir.
How can check in the Indo-Pacific region? How can it check China in this?
So we have lots of ports which have been developed for us, through which you can, in terms of military operations, we have developed some friendly nations with Indonesia, and we are trying to choke the Strait of Malacca, which is there in the southern parts of the world, sir. If we choke that Strait of Malacca, sir, if China tries to do anything, we can choke 70% of the economy, because all the oil and 70% or 80% of the oil supplies of China comes through from the Strait of Malacca, sir. So we have really good friendly relations with Indonesia, and Indonesia is really close to that portion. So if we set up a military base and things like that, so we can always tackle Chinese invasion and Chinese.
Basically, you can control the sea routes.
Exactly.
So their export and import and that economy.
Economy
You
is.
see, we can have like sanctions like that. Okay. Now, what do you mean by, recently there have been a large number of talk going around these sanctions after the Ukraine-Russia war, right? And likewise, India also got threat from US.
Right, sir.
You agree? So what of that, are you aware what type of threat and what, in terms of what law the US was threatening?
So US has this term for their trade laws. They have something called CAATSA, sir. So they can apply this.
What is CAATSA?
It's a sanction, sir, which America can apply, can impose on any country, which they do trade and all these things with other parts of the country. So they can apply it to restrain from trading and doing the trade facilities.
That's countering American adversaries.
Yes, countering
Through
American industries.
Sanctions
Sanction
Act,
Act, right? So yes,
right?
right.
So, but how they were threatening India? What India has got to do with Ukraine and Russia?
So we are importing Russian oil, sir,
Yeah.
at a very lower price as compared to the other parts of the world.
Okay.
So US wants us to stop that. So
Okay.
that's why they are applying all these sanctions. They've applied it on Japan. They've applied it
So
on.
they were
lots of
threatening
countries. Yes, sir.
because of that reason.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, tell me, as per you, what could be the fallout of Ukraine and Russian war at the end of the day? You see, when there is a ceasefire, which has to happen,
Right, sir.
Now, what do you think the new world order, is it going to change?
So I would say ultimately, with foreign countries like US and the other parts of the country are supporting Ukraine in a way that they are providing them missiles and arms and ammunition. Ultimately, they want these countries to fight for some time, and when they come to a negotiation or ceasefire, both countries' economy would be deteriorated, and that's when US and the NATO alliances can apply their pressure and get into terms with Russia, sir. So that's the main concern which is happening around the world, sir.
You mean to say, is the world order,
Mm-hmm.
you understand, world order?
Right, sir.
You see, initially, up to Second World War and later on up to, disintegration of Russia and all, 1989,
Right.
right? It was two superpowers, and thereafter again it changed over after the 89 onwards, when there was a disintegration of the whatever of USSR into 15, 17 countries, Cold War and all era. So world order changed, right, from superpowers to this. So now, my question to you is the new world order is likely to be coming up after the Ukraine-Russia war?
So I think America has to, it's been playing a very important part, but with this war coming to an end, I would say America would play a really important part for the world, sir.
How?
Because if we see the NATO, sir, 75% of the NATO's funding is being done by America. So technically we can say that NATO is being controlled by America. So if the war comes to a halt, I would certainly say America will be the big thing, sir.
Okay. Tell me something about, Taiwan and the problem there in Southeast China Sea.
So these days, sir, it's been a development from last 14 to 15 days. China is trying to invade Taiwan, sir, because of course of the reason because China ultimately thinks that the entire South China Sea belongs to it. However, it has been divided into 6 island countries. They also claim that the boundaries belongs to them as well. So that's the reason why China wants to gain control over Taiwan. So, and of course US is supporting Taiwan with, they recently sent 75 aircrafts and warrior ships to Taiwan, sir, so that they can tackle, and even I would say the normal people of the Taiwan, they are also undergoing the army training or how to use the weapons so that they can fight Chinese people.
Any impact on India, whatever is happening in the, uh, Southeast, whatever, China Sea, sorry.
South China Sea, sir.
Yeah.
So, if China curbs Taiwan, sir, that would be beginning of China's military expansion, sir. So recently, China's foreign minister visited 10 independent island countries to get into an agreement, economic and military operations agreement, so that they can establish a military base in presence in those countries. So that it basically controls India and the Quad countries' activities. That wasn't successful, so China is trying this strategy, sir.
Okay. Basically, the hold in that
Yes, sir.
South
They
China
want to
Sea,
gain
South
South
China
China
Sea.
Sea. Yes.
Yeah, so that they can control
The
sea routes and
sea
other
routes,
things.
yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well done, all the best.